honestly, like I'm surprised that we have done what we have done because that saying that don't work with your friends, it is very true. After a while, like working, you're not only seeing them at work, but you also like we were not only seeing each other for work, but we were also going vacations together, like our time also with each other because we are the friend group, and we
Right.
became really close to a point where we were called close knit because there were things that we only could talk to each other or like understood each other because we saw each other quite often. But it did take toll on us because when you're working, you may love them, but you may not love their work ethic. And it took us a while to kind of started putting those things in place. Like, all right, we need an evaluation process.
This episode is brought to you by me. Yes, by me, Victoria Odekomaya. I'm a brand photographer and strategist based locally here in Indiana. And I love helping women, small business owners, and professionals with side hustles build and elevate their brand. So if you're in the market looking for someone that would thoroughly help you create a beautiful imagery for your brand and help you connect to your target audience, I'm your girl. So why choose me? Because I offer a beautiful, luxurious celebrity photoshoot experience for all of my clients. The celebrity experience includes professional hair and makeup, wardrobe styling. I serve wine and chocolate covered strawberries, and I'm playing your favorite music because it's important to me that you look and feel great to create the images that we know will truly connect with your audience. So what are you waiting for? If you're looking for photography to help you elevate your brand, call on your girl because I got you. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Own Your Brand Show. I'm your guest, Victoria Odekomaya, and today I sat down with Navi from the Normies. And if you haven't heard about them, you should go to, after this episode, obviously, go on YouTube and search for the Normies. They are a huge group of friends here in Indiana that has over 700,000 subscribers. They have their whole studio here in Indiana. I've been there. Actually, it's in Fishers. And it's just a group of friends doing something that they love and just helping to grow their, the creator economy. They are full-time staff as well as part-time staff. And I just think they're doing such an incredible job. So today, when I sit down with Navi, we're talking about how they grew their YouTube influence, how they grew their YouTube channels, how that has changed for them over the years and some of the things that they learned. She also debunks some of the, misconceptions that we have about having a YouTube channel. So you don't want to miss today's episode. And without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, Navi. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Victoria?
I'm doing so well. You look amazing today. I see your hair is a little shorter, but still beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I love it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm very excited about today because I really think that you and your group, which you're going to get into, are doing one of the most phenomenal things that I have ever heard of coming out of Indiana. But before I give away all of that, tell us a little bit about you and your organization, the Normies.
Yes. So my name is Navi, Navi Kaur to be full. I'm a financial and business officer for our entertainment company, which is called Normies, essentially a YouTube channel we started 80 years ago, about 8.5 years ago in Indiana, in Indianapolis, in Fishers, actually. It's 7 of us total who started it as a partners, but right now we have 14 full-timers and about 4 or 5 part-timers who work with the company. We have a studio up in Fishers, and we do mostly our content is around reviews and reactions around mainstream media. We consume a lot of mainstream media. And we have podcasts and we do sketches, kind of like Saturday Night Live sketches based on the shows, like parody sketches. But yeah, that's been going on for the last 80 years.
Wow. And you guys have 700 700,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yes, we
That is
are.
mind blowing.
Thank you. Our goal is to reach 1 million, hopefully soon. But obviously, 700,000, it's a great number. We need to do more of a celebration around it. But yes, we are super happy about that.
That is amazing. I was just wondering. I didn't say this before, but I know you. I've been to your your studio, and I mean, just the incredible work you guys are doing. And I, for myself, saw the plaque. I
Yeah.
saw it with my own two eyes. I was like, whoa, because it's one of those things where you see on YouTube, YouTubers feel like, oh, I got this plaque, or like you see behind them. Like I was like touching and looking. I'm like, whoa, this is real.
Yeah, like we enter YouTube channel. We're not just saying things.
That is amazing. And you have a whole building that's dedicated to that. Like you have, just just incredible work, like the setup and everything. Because I was on your podcast too, and just amazing work that you guys do. So tell us, how did you guys all start? I know you said you started 8 years ago, but like what started all of this? Like what was the big idea or the small idea that led to all these big things?
Yeah, so it was weird how it happened. So we usually will come together as a group. As we are just friends. At the time, I think it was 8 and 9 of us. We will usually meet every Sunday to watch Game of Thrones. So we were coming together. That was kind of thing like, the whole week, everybody been busy. We get together once a week and watch the show. And Suraj Chaudhary, who is our CEO of the company, he essentially one day, he's like, can I just put a camera and record us? And then I put it on YouTube. At that time, I had no idea what YouTube was. Like, I know some people YouTube was just coming up, was becoming a big thing, but I was not a YouTube consumer. So our response was like, sure, we're going to be here regardless. If you want to edit
Why
and
not?
work and do it, sure, why not? And then slowly it started evolving into us playing games like around Game of Thrones in the beginning, and then reaction. And people started watching us and had no idea that people were interested, and it started growing. It's like, okay, so there is a demand for this, or they like who we are. I think the idea of like a friend group coming together every week and watching a show, that kind of built a community for us, and it kind of just grew from there. When Game of Thrones ended, we were called Talking Thrones. So when Game of Thrones ended, it was like, we should continue, and we did Walking Dead, and we changed our name to Normies, and because Normies essentially mean consuming mainstream media on a high level, and with us, our appeal is more so a group friend coming together and watching a show and discussing a show, and that's the feel that you usually get, is like just a group of people, and then so that's where that community grew, and it just went from there. And we learned a lot, that a lot of people who were watching us is because a lot of time at that time when Game of Thrones started, people were watching, but not that many people were talking about it. It became a big mainstream later on. But it was kind of that sense of people trying to find the community online for people who are watching the same show to discuss theories. And we became a middle ground of those people to meet with each other in our comments, and they made a community. And yeah, it's been great. We've been growing since.
Wow, that is interesting because, who did it? I mean, I heard about Game of Thrones much later, but it was such an amazing show too. So, this was like a really great opportunity for you guys, which you seized. So, your audience, where are they located?
Everywhere. They're located all over the world. I mean, majority of them are actually from America, Canada. We have people in Europe, people in Brazil. A lot of like South Americans watch us. Surprisingly, not that many Indian community, even though most of us are Indian, but like not that many Indian. But we do this meet and greet event every year where our supporters come meet us once a year, kind of like convention 3-day event. And we had somebody come from Denmark last year. We have somebody coming from Australia this year to meet us. Yeah, so we do have people quite a bit. A lot of people in Europe, and yeah, so it's surprising to see how many people watch us from all over the world, but it's everywhere. Sometimes we'll find somebody, and sometimes we'll go down the street and see somebody in a Kroger. They're like, "Oh, we watch you guys." Like, oh, yeah, I guess people locally also watch us.
It's funny, like do you ever get like, do you guys sit around and pinch yourself and think like, this is us, you know? Because it's for me, I'm so incredibly proud of the work that you're doing. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, obviously the numbers are, tell the story as well, but like, and nothing against Indiana, but like in Indiana, in the cornfields, you know what I mean? Like usually when you see or you think of YouTube as we're thinking about, maybe California or like, you know what I mean? But this is like my backyard, you know? So, I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah, most of YouTubers are in LA, and we have talked about going to LA a couple 2 or 3 years ago. Our goal was before pandemic, honestly. A goal
okay.
was to like we'll move to LA. At least half of the team was gonna go to LA, and then pandemic happened. We were in a like research stage, and then we bought a studio here because what we learned during pandemic or like you can be anywhere because the
Mhm.
internet is such a great gift. I mean, it's both, right? But it's a great gift that you can be anywhere and still talk to people all over the world and still build a huge presence. People have been on TikTokers and everybody. So it kind of instilled the idea that like we don't have to be in LA. We don't have to spend a lot of money in LA. I think that's the issue. Once you're on a YouTube and internet, it doesn't matter where you are. Like I could be in a basement or anywhere. It doesn't matter why pay extreme amount of money to
Right.
be somewhere. But on the other side is LA has a beautiful skies and weather. We're in the Midwest. So we kind of have a pros and cons on that. Eventually, we would like to move somewhere, not necessarily Cali. I think the Cali is a good place to be if you want to do more collaboration. And that is true. We do love doing collaborations, but I think we have moved to a mindset that we'll go out in Cali, have like a week trip where we plan out who we're meeting, who we collaborate, what content we're creating, and also kind of like just be there without paying and scream rent while we're there all year round. Because I don't know how many collaboration we'll do if you're there full time, so we might as well go there, do those, and then come back.
That makes a lot of sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
But it
So
helps to be anywhere. You can be anywhere, and
I know I'm literally in my garage right now, and so
exactly, it helps. It helps a lot.
yeah. So when did you guys figure out that you're doing something right?
Pretty early on, I think. Well, pretty early on, we didn't think that we would build to where we are right now, but we did realize there were people interested in what we were doing. So we were coming together every Sunday for a couple of years actually, and then realized, and then slowly we started a Patreon where we started getting some income from. Then we were able to, our CEO, our founder, he was able to quit his job and become full time, and we started doing more shows. And that's when we realized, like, okay, wait a minute, there is a way to bring money and income through this that we can pay somebody. And then we started putting a little bit more operations behind it. And that's when, like, okay, it could become something because apparently people are doing stuff on YouTube and they're becoming a whole thing. That was a very new to me. Somebody who's brown descent has only been told that you can be a doctor engineer. So knowing that you can have a career in YouTube, never thought of it, never looked at
Right.
it. So when we saw that, hey, AdSense don't make anything, but once we saw like, okay, there is work here to be done on Patreon, there's a lot of work behind the scene. My business operations side kicked in, and I was able to take care of like behind the scene operations. But that was able to help us like, okay, if we keep growing, there's a potential here that most of us can be a full timers. But it took us, I think, a year and a half, and a couple of years to kind of just like, okay, this is something. And that's when I think we all came together and talked about what does this look like. So we are putting effort into it. We only have one person who's full time. We would start paying everybody's time slowly, little by little. And it's like, okay, but what does that mean? Because a lot of us put effort into this before anybody was getting paid. What does that look like? And we had a really good conversation and was able to divide out what percentage each of us have and go from there. So operate
Wow.
the business. Yeah.
That's and so now you said it was a 14 staff and majority of those are full time.
Yes, and they're salaried, so they get paid by like bi-weekly or bi-monthly, I believe. Yeah, so it's a full-on company. So that's how I introduce myself as an like entertainment company. It is an entertainment company. It's just that most of our content's on YouTube. We are not we're just providing entertainment services, but we run it as a company.
That's amazing. So I know you're a group of friends. You guys obviously work very well together building this thing, right? So how did you guys have that conversation about who's doing what and, just the different individual roles?
Mhm. I think YouTube is really interesting because there's no guideline. There's no really a class. You can't really
Mhm.
like read a book like what do you need it. So it just happened to be that because we were so many people, it could have easily gone chaos, right? No,
Right.
everybody is not listening to anyone. I think all of us kind of saw what the gap was and was able to put their strength in it. Like I was immediately like, okay, if you're gonna do this, we need to schedule it out. Who needs to be where? What needs to be done when? At that time, we were in-house editors. Like we were the team. Like there was nobody outside. Like we were a team. So we were able to once we got the scheduling done, and then most of us are creative, and they were able to brainstorm and do creative work. And I'm not a creative person, so I was able to see like I need operational help. So everybody kind of saw what was needed and picked up, and then eventually like, okay, wait a minute, this is a whole role. It happened organically, honestly. We would like to write some kind of book around it or something, some kind of guide to tell people now
Mhm.
that we're doing it, because we have learned that if you ask a high schooler what they want to do, majority of them will say they want to be a YouTuber, but they're not taking a YouTube class. Like there's nothing there. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube information on there, but people need to realize that what you see on the camera, which is 10 minutes, it took literally like an hour to film it, hour and a
Yeah.
half, and then it took a whole day for edit. So it
Yes.
took 6 to 8 hours for that one content to be produced. And just like AdSense, where that goes. So it does take time, but it happened organically. We just everybody saw there was a gap, and kind of in the beginning we were like, okay, this is needed. You do this, and maybe that person wasn't a great fit, and we slowly realized like, okay, let's switch that out, or that doesn't need to be done. So there was a lot of trial and errors for sure.
Wow. That's amazing because, I love that you guys are already friends. So that helps a lot. And then everybody was responsible. Like everybody felt responsible in helping to grow this thing and just finding their right fit there. But
Yeah,
then also you're running it as a business.
yeah,
It gradually became a business and not just something that we do on Sundays and just, wow, that's incredible. And I love the idea that you guys are also looking to create a book because I can tell you that my kids
hmm
definitely, when I ask them and they're only 8 and 10, they want to be a YouTuber. And I'm
yeah.
like, okay. But there's a lot of things that go behind it, like not just the creative part of it, but also the business side of things
Mhm.
too.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. And it all takes toll on your mental health. Honestly, like I am surprised that we have done what we have done, because that saying that don't work with your friends, it is very true. After a while, like working, you not only seeing them at work, but you also like we were not only seeing each other for work, but we were also going vacations together, like our time also with each other, because we are the friend group, and we
Right.
became really close to a point where we were called close knit, because there were things that we only could talk to each other or like understood each other because we saw each other quite often. But it did take toll on us, because when you're working, you may love them, but you may not love their work ethic. And it took us a while to kind of started putting those things in place. Like, all right, we need an evaluation process, or we need to have somebody like give this evaluation. So these things need to happen sooner than later, because if you don't, like when you're in the work, and if you just assume everybody will just understand what they're doing without communicating, always a bad thing, because it just work communication is very different than friendship communication. We have had a lot of obstacles. We had a lot of struggles. We're in a group therapy right now. So all of us do group therapy after
Wow.
8 years. I think it's because we all, like you said, we understand that we want this to be something. We own this. We want this to be something. This can be big. So we do have that ownership. And I think that's the main reason why we have lasted so long, even though we may have issues behind the scene with each other, but we are willing to work on it because we want this. Otherwise, there were a lot of people who left us. Oh, we during the whole 80 years, there were people who went and gone. Um, but it just happens along the sense like if you can't do it, then let's just make it good for each other. Like no bad blood or anything anywhere, but be able to adult, we understand like this is not my style of work, or this is not my style that I want to do forever. And then just having a part-time or full-time or whatever works, being adaptable has been a key success.
Wow, that is very interesting. So, what is one of the biggest misconception about having a YouTube channel? I know we've talked a little bit about the amount of work that goes into it and things like. What is something else that you can share? Like, if someone was like, okay, I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel as well. What is the one thing you should say, Victoria? Pay attention to this.
Yeah. I think one of the big misconceptions, beside that it takes a lot of time in the background, is people. I think that's the main one. Like, people don't realize that it's actually work. I think I have a bigger respect for all the influencers on social media that they're like, okay, they're not doing work. I think the biggest misconception is people say, like, you just watch TV for a living. Sure. But at a certain point, when you're watching TV, sometimes like 6 hours a day, nobody wants to watch TV for that long. And not only binging, you're actually stopping, having a proper discussion, analyzing it. There's a lot of work that goes behind it. And I think the most of misconception with YouTubers, influencers, is that it's a very easy job. It's a job, regardless. Like, end of the day, if you want to be something, you will have to put time into it. Nobody just gets subscribers this overnight. So be willing to put that work and time and effort. If you want to be a YouTuber, want to be influencer, know that you will have to put some dedicated time and effort into it. It might be a side hustle. That's fine. But it can't be side hustle an hour a day. It needs to be like specific, like 4 hours of specific time. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, because you can't, nobody can do anything in an hour a day. It takes a time to just set up, and then the time is gone. So just put some time into it, actually manage it properly, because it can easily derail. But one thing, besides that, consistency. Everything, what you're doing, and it may take some time to figure out what people like, what you're doing, and be okay to take that criticism, because some of them you might not like it, but there's always some kind of truth behind it. Like, most of the criticism we have gotten. So the word normies, the reason why we call ourselves normies, because somebody insulted us. Somebody just said, like, oh, these effing normies. I was like, oh, you like that name. I'm going to take that name, because we were looking for a new name. So a lot of criticism, even if it's like bad, there's something behind it that you could learn. But if they're making troll comments about how somebody looks, well, there's nothing I can do about it. But there might be, maybe those weeks I'm in the pajamas, then I need to make sure my appearance is okay, because everything is important. Taking that kind of feedback and consistency helps. And if something needs to be changed, change it sooner than later, and be consistent with it. So that's like a biggest thing for sure.
That's amazing. That's really good advice. Thank you for saying that too. And then you kind of touched a little bit about my next question about handling the naysayers, right? The comments, the bullies, and things like that. Do you guys have like a dedicated person looking through the comments, or do you guys all look at the comment? Or like, how do you filter through all of that?
Yeah, so that's been an interesting journey, because we were all kind of looking at the comments in the beginning. Everybody does. Comments will affect you. There's no saying no. But I think it's a matter of realizing after a while, like, you just need to stop. You just need to stop. We do have a person. So on YouTube, we have words that immediately make comment hidden that you have to review for approval. But besides that, we have somebody in staff who, when she's publishing content, she will go through comments. We also, our community, we have moderators in our community who are assigned. They get special incentives, like they get some content for free as a perk, but they are moderators. They will go through comments and delete any spoilers, delete anything. When they delete it, it goes for us to approve. But it shows, it just goes away from YouTube. They also help us on Twitch when we go live. A lot of people sometimes will come in the chat and start typing stuff. So they're really good at deleting that if there's spoilers. So they've been really, really helpful. One of the biggest things I will say, being as part of, if you want to grow, build a community, because your community is going to be the one that's going to raise you up. They're the one who's going to tell other people. They're going to help you, give you feedback that's actually very useful. And they will become your true like friends. We have people who were our supporters, our fans, but like they're genuinely friends. They will come visit us, and we'll like hang out with them. And yeah, so it's one of the big things. But we have a moderators. We do read comments, but we try not to read comments on YouTube. We'll read comments on Patreon, just because YouTube has a lot of trolls. But we have gotten better at like literally scrolling through anything that says the word spoiler or anything that's mean. We just glance over it. We don't even pay attention to it. It's become a habit after 8 years that just it's just going to be there. It's good. It's a part of reality, and I think that's another thing need to be in the YouTube book. Like the comments are going to be part of reality, and you just have to create a thick skin and just deal with it.
Yeah, that's really good. So you said something a little bit earlier that I want to go back into. So you said YouTube. Is it that people don't make a lot of money on YouTube as like we think they do? And is the reason why you're going on Patreon? Like, kind of clarify that part for me.
I think that's another misconception that people make a lot of money on YouTube, and that's not really true. If you're having a million views on a video, yes, you will be making some money that you'll be able to afford on it. But not everybody's getting a million views on their videos. Not everybody have million subscribers. So even if it's like 700,000 most of our views, some videos do crack a million view for us, but it's over time. But it doesn't, the AdSense money comes once a month. And us doing it for this long, now I think you're making enough on YouTube AdSense that we'll be able to employ 3 full-timers. But because it doesn't, that's why we have Patreon, not only to diversify your portfolio kind of thing, but Patreon is a way to really have the individuals help creators. It works. So what Patreon is, if you're not aware of it, is essentially a separate platform where you can provide different services and people can pay monthly subscription, kind of like Netflix. So we have different tiers. The way our works for us, we have one tier where you will get a content, like for $5 content monthly, you will get content almost every day, 1 week before it goes on YouTube for free. And then another one where you get 4 weeks of content ahead before YouTube gets it for free. So you can wait until it's on YouTube, or if you want to watch ahead, then you can go up on Patreon. That's the other thing. We're doing a free trial subscription for month of August for people to just check it out and be like, this is the content we produce, because we do produce a lot of content. So that special stuff is good, along with other perks. We have quite a bit of perks that's on Patreon, but it's essentially a way for individuals to support creator. And Patreon does keep a certain percentage, but it's not as huge as YouTube. And YouTube is much bigger. And YouTube, the algorithm changes very often, sometimes without any information or without wide reasoning. So it's not beneficial for small creators to be solely on YouTube. You can grow. I think it's better to grow on YouTube and then move on to Patreon. Like keep both, but you can't just start Patreon and assume people know who you are. You have to have a base on YouTube, people to know what you are giving, for them to feel like, okay, I want to support you further, and I will pay extra on Patreon. But yeah, Patreon is the main source of revenue that's helpful to build the company that we have right now.
That's amazing. And I heard you say that for the month of August, you have a special going on. So I'm going to put all the comments, put the link in the comments so that people can join on. I've seen your content. It's amazing. I've actually walked through your whole, your whole studio. I mean, just the amount of work that you guys are doing is incredible. I know you also have a super secret girl club.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We have a couple of podcasts here. We have one that's only boys, and then we have a super secret girls club. It's me and Marquetta. We go live weekly on Wednesday. The goal for that one is essentially talk about things that we don't really get to during reactions, or really go deeper into conversation from female perspective. Just essentially like, okay, what our thoughts and idea are about. So it's a place for people to be open with their mind, say whatever, and let's have an honest discussion around it. Because a lot of times for YouTube, you kind of also have to be careful what you say because they do censor a lot. So you can't really go much deeper into conversation. And me and Marquette are very not progressive, but we do have a certain opinions on a very like controversial opinions that the topics around the world. So we want to have a place where we could talk about it along with the community who also wants to talk about it, some serious discussions. So we'll go do that, and we'll bring in guests. We are kind of in a process of just looking at our topics and see what new things we can do. I think we are gonna go back to more so answering questions from audience and like kind of also like guy ask girl kind of type dating advice, because most of our community who watch us are introvert. They're looking for friends, a community, so we want to be able to help them because we are introvert as well. So kind of more so like this is what helps for us, and we also have the same mental health issue as everybody else when we go through depression. So we want to be able to talk to a community and letting them know they're not alone. Our whole motto is making no one feel alone. So it's just another podcast to make sure we are just talking directly to them. But it's every Wednesday. We sometimes we have guests, and yeah, it's fun podcast, just informal fun podcast.
I love it for so many reasons. Obviously the reason why you're doing it, although I maybe because I've seen you in action, I don't see you as an introvert, but I get that you could be an introvert.
Yeah.
But I also love the name. I think from a branding perspective, it's a genius idea. Super Secret Girl Club. I'm like, I want to learn about that. Like, what is that about? So I love that. Wow. So one quick question
Mhm.
about, so a lot of people want to go viral, and there's a lot of, people are just digging in, trying to figure out how to go viral. I'm sure some of your videos have done really well. What is that one tip that you can give to someone that's considering going viral?
Yeah. So going viral is just very difficult. Like unless you're doing something very extreme that catches and gets to the news. If you want to build a consistent base, you can have one video viral, but if you're not going to continue producing the same content, you're not going to get anything more. So instead of focusing on going viral, focus on producing a content that connects with your community and doing it consistently, because you want to build a base long term and not just have a bunch of views, because you can have a video that have like 10 million views, but you only have 10,000 subscribers. So you want to be able to kind of associate like, yeah, that video went viral, but what did that do to you? Like, what did that do for you? Like, do they know who you are? Like, did you get people who are subscribed to you? Are they going to continue staying watching more people? And sometimes they do. Like, sometimes people see that and they're like, okay, I'm going to follow this person. And they don't see anything. And I'm like, I'm going to follow this person. Like, who is this? Like, I forgot who I subscribed to like 10 months ago. So instead of focusing on being viral, focus on building something that connects with your community who stays there. And so you can continue producing something that they enjoy and they continue supporting you because they think that you're a good creator, something that they want to continue growth or see you grow essentially. So yeah, I mean, going viral, yeah, it's all fun and games, but if it doesn't produce any kind of ROI for you, return of investment, that one viral moment is not gonna be all. It's not gonna be win all.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. That's what I teach in my coaching class too. It's not about the one video or the one activity that you do that makes it's the strategy behind the long-term game. And I've heard you say over and over again here, the community, because that's your base, right? People that understand who you are, that you can connect with, you can continue to help and inspire, do whatever you want to do, sell to them, help them grow and all of that. So one last question before I let you go. Maybe one more. I just remembered one more. So what are you doing? I know the name of this show is Own Your Brand. Like there's so many other YouTubers out there. I know you have competitors, which is for real and all that. So what are you guys doing to set yourself apart to own your brand?
So we grew our brand mostly has been a group of friends. We are the biggest, like the other reaction channels that are out there. There's one in Ohio, and there are four of them. And there's a couple in LA, and they're like 45 people, Florida. So we are the biggest group there is, with 7 of us. So our brand is essentially it's group of friends watching something together and enjoying each other's company. And that has been, and we have most diverse people. Like 3 of us are Indian, 1 is from Europe, 1 is African American, 1 is from Jordan. So we have a diverse group of people, which brings out a lot of different opinions because of different like how we all raised. We were all raised different part of the world differently, but some things are but it still shows that there are something that connects us. So anybody can connect to anybody regardless of what background you came from. So our brand has been a group of friends. So when we realized after working 80 years that there was some turbulence or just like cracks in a friendship, we were like, we need to go to therapists. Like we need to talk about it because our brand is we are a group of friends and we can't just not be friends. We wish we had done it sooner, but it has helped us tremendously just to kind of talk out things that was just misconception or just miscommunication. But we're glad we were able to realize like that is our brand. We need to make sure that brand stays there. If that's something that we need to talk out through a mediator, let's talk it out through mediator. And that has helped quite a bit.
That is amazing. And I think, also the connection to people want to see. That's the reason why people are coming. You said earlier on, like, no one is alone, that because people watching from all over, they want to still be able to feel like you're their friends, right? So, and also seeing that interaction with all the rest of the friends, the groups too, help to build that you're not alone. Like these people are my friends. So that's really beautiful. So I know that you are doing something for the entertainment industry because there's a lot of, there's a strike going on and things like that. So tell us about that, the initiative that you guys have.
Yes. So when SAG strike started, they put out a news that any influencers who continue promoting the work that is strike by them may not be able to get into SAG in the future. It was very vague. It was one of those things like, what does this mean? Are we part of this? Or are we not part of this? We did quite a bit of research, and the true answer, like, there's no right answer because it's so vague. So I know there was another channel who decided to stop watching specific content because it was related to those. But when it comes down to it, all channels are owned by this one big media conglomerate. So like you will kind of essentially have to not watch anything. And that won't help anybody. That won't help the strikers. So what we came down to that we will be donating 10% of our YouTube ad revenue to the charity who works with the SAG and AFTRA. This is something that we announced last week. So we'll be starting on all the videos. It doesn't have to be only like we do a lot of anime and a lot of live action, and I know anime is not affected by this, but we are looping in everybody. All YouTube AdSense, 10% of it is going to be donated to one of the charities that's working with SAG strikers until the strike ends. That could be months. We do expect this to go a long term. It has gone long term. It's already one of the longest strike that has happened from actors and writers standpoint. But we want to stand with them because it's because of them they can produce a content that we are watching. So we're all directly impacted by it, and we want to make sure they get paid fairly, given all the rights. We are all about like union workers and everything. So yeah, we do want to, we believe that was the best way to help them instead of not watching the content, but instead of like giving the money from the content that is being out there. So that was our method of helping out on this.
That's amazing. So everyone out there that's watching this, please help support. Go to the Normies. I'm going to put all of their content, the links to the content so that we can all help support this, artists, going through a strike right now. This is their livelihood. And so any little bit helps. Oh my God, this has been such an eye-opening conversation. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I really appreciate you bringing me on. The only thing I will add, like what Victoria said, to help with this donation, And if you guys can check out our channel, it's the normies.com. Well, like not normies.com. You can go to normies.com. That's also our website, but it's called the Normies on YouTube. Watch any of the videos, and the 10% of that will go to the donation thing. Yeah, and hopefully you will find something that you relate with. We do produce quite a bit of content, so there's something for everybody. And we're locally here, so support local.
I know, yes. And then the Patreon too. We're gonna put the links for that too. So you because you have that special going on this month too. So thank you so much, Navi, for coming on today. I am so in awe and very proud of the work that you and all the rest of the team is doing. I definitely learned something from you. Thank you for having me on your show as well. And thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much, Victoria. I really had fun.
Yeah. Well, so this is the end of this today's episode, but please make sure you subscribe, visit all the links in the description, and stay tuned for the next episode.